And starting very soon. Okay. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and warm welcome to each one of you because we are here joining from all around the world. My name is Sijal Pokhrel and I'm from Nepal. And as you know, Nepal is a land of glorious Mount Everest. My profession and personal work is closely linked with a planetary worldview of looking into the world. And that is what I practice as a researcher in ECMOD, US Embassy Youth Council, and Nepal Environment Society. Before we formally begin the program, may I kindly request the audience to share our live streaming in your social media pages so that we can get connected and covered widely. Thank you. So today we are connected in the fourth out of the sixth webinar of Land Hero series, and today we bring the speaker to put light on the power of education and youth mobilization. I am delighted to introduce the presenter of this webinar. We are two superheroes protecting land by their spectacular work. First, we have Kikasha Basu. She is the founder of Green Hope Foundation, and she is active in 6 countries. At only age 20, she's already a global influencer and she's an active environmentalist. She's also a TEDx speaker, a social enterprise innovator, and whatnot. She's also an author. She leads workshops on mangrove conservation and tree planting education, and she always focuses on empowering youth, women, and communities. Also, during the pandemic situation, she goes with her advocacy work through the webinars and the Women Impacting the World series. And it is so amazing to hear that if only in her 11 webinars, she did 25K people, and most of them were students so far. We have another spectacular speaker for this webinar, and she is Patricia Kombo. She is 24 years old and currently an undergrad student at Moe University, and she is pursuing a degree in communication and journalism. She founded a poetry initiative whose aim is to help Kenya attain 10% forest cover through involving school people on tree planting and conservation activities. She is strongly believing in the importance of raising awareness of the benefit of sustainable environment and how to achieve this. And like Keshaka, she also worked very hard during lockdown, and she had set up 10,000 saplings in a tree nursery through harvesting indigenous seeds. Working closely with her community, she also set up kitchen garden and gives training about sustainable farming and land conservation, hoping to improve agriculture practice and achieving zero hunger, zero poverty, and gender equality. We also have Caroline, who is a Land and Life Program Coordinator from UNCCD. I would like to invite Caroline for her opening remark. Welcome, Caroline.
Thank you, Sijal. And hello to Kehkashan and Patricia. Thank you for being here. So yes, just a quick few words about the Land for Life program of the UNCCD. So basically, it's a program aiming to raise awareness of the link between the land and the climate. And most importantly, and how to, the urgency of achieving land degradation neutrality. And so land degradation neutrality, what it is, in short, very simple terms, it's basically the concept of restoring as much land as as it is being degraded over the years, either by natural hazards, so floods, fire, tornadoes, or through human activities like agriculture, for instance. The UNCCD is involved or supports many initiatives worldwide where the women and the youth are really involved and empowered, like with the 3S initiative in Africa, or the Great Green Wall that you maybe have heard of, and that are 2 projects strongly advocated by Baba Mal and Inamoja, 2 land ambassadors. We also have Ambassador Kwan in Asia, who works with students in university, so providing education about the land issues. And every year they go to Gopuchi Desert efforts to regreening the desert by planting trees and trying to avoid or reduce suns and dust storms. So all of this to say that the youth are not only the future, they are the present. And those are a great example. And we have two land heroes today who will also share what they're doing. And that proves what I've just said. Yesterday was World Teachers Day. And like Malala said once, one child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world. And I think that the guests today would agree, and maybe they would add, and one tree can change the world too. So I look forward to hearing what we're gonna discuss today. And I hope, like Sijal mentioned, that our audience online will send comments and questions, because we are organizing this for you, or else it would be just a private conversation. And so I think it's nice that we stream it if people really get involved in the discussion. So thank you, Sijal, to represent the Youth Caucus and accepting to moderate this session. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Reflecting upon what Caroline was saying, and based upon my own experience, I too believe that youth have now become ambassador for the planetary protection. And with this, I cannot wait for Kikasha to present her journey of success so far. So Kikasha, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And it is wonderful to be able to join all of you from across the world, and it really helps us to bridge all the geographical boundaries. So my journey of conservation and stopping and reversing land degradation began when I planted my first tree on my 8th birthday. And growing up in Dubai, I was surrounded by some of the world's fiercest deserts, and that included the Rub al Khali, the empty quarter. And I saw and felt the impacts of desertification every day. And the fact that these deserts were once green, verdant lands a very long time ago urged me to take action so that my generation did not repeat the mistakes of the past. And I also saw all around me the gross impacts of human footprint on the land and the immense degradation it was causing. And that included the copious amounts of waste that were filling up the landfills, to the destruction of forests and natural habitats, to overconsumption and wastage of water that further aggravated the process of desertification. And it really bothered me that despite all of this glaring evidence, people still did not really see it. And I realized that this myopia and human apathy were the root causes that needed to be addressed. And it was also around that time that I attended a lecture by environmentalist Robert Swan. And his words, "The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it," really resonated with me and vindicated my belief that I was on the right path. So I started by mobilizing children and young people in my community. Speaking at schools, I organized waste awareness campaigns, teaching households to segregate organic waste from those that could be recycled, beach cleanups, and tree planting programs. And then these efforts got recognized, and I was invited to Rio Plus 20 in 2012, where as a 12-year-old, I was the youngest international delegate at that summit, which we all know brought together over 50,000 delegates from all across the world. And I also spoke at a press conference there to commemorate World Day to Combat Desertification and Drought, where I warned the audience that very soon we would see polar bears under palm trees if we didn't shake off our apathy. And at Rio, I realized how children were completely ignored and underrepresented. So on my return, I founded my organization, Green Hope Foundation, with a handful of friends, with the objective of providing children and youth a platform through which they could learn about sustainability challenges and then take grassroots actions within their communities to mitigate them. And using education for sustainable development as that transformative tool, we reached out to children and young people, especially from those in marginalized and vulnerable communities. So Syrian refugees, children of prisoners in Kenya, Nepal, Rohingya refugees, the homeless and the destitute in Bangladesh, India, providing them with the skills, attitudes, and behaviors to think and act for a sustainable future. And many of these children whom we work with have never been to school, and given that our work is global, many of them also did not speak English. So to circumvent these issues, we use music, art, dance, drama, sport, and fashion, these creative modes of communication, to talk to them and teach them about land degradation, global warming, impacts of pollution, as well as ocean acidification, biodiversity impacts, gender equality. And at our Environment and Sustainability Academies, which is our unique advocacy platform promoting peer-to-peer learning, they learned and propagated the concepts of recycling and upcycling using waste products to create eco-fashion. And this peer-to-peer learning module has been extremely effective. So we've conducted over 208 environment academies. We have directly engaged and educated over 97,000 children and youth in 25 countries. And armed with this knowledge, these eco-warriors localize the sustainable development goals, taking actions in their own communities. And these have resulted in over 110,000 tree plantings, 200 beach and community cleanups. We've recycled over 200,000 kilos of waste that would have otherwise gone into landfills. We also work on conserving coastal landscapes, and in particular, mangrove ecosystems. That's been one of our key areas of action, and we've planted over 5,000 mangroves worldwide. And rapid urbanization and pollution have also caused immense damage to these fragile ecosystems that serve as the natural barrier against sea storms, as well as livelihoods to the coastal communities. So working closely with these communities, reducing that pollution and regenerating them through new plantings, we've built back several thousand square kilometers of mangroves in Suriname, in the Bahamas, in the Middle East, in Indonesia, and in the Sundarbans, the world's largest mangrove forest spanning India and Bangladesh. And what began as a 12-year-old dream has now evolved into a global social innovation enterprise with young people, members all across the world in our 16 country chapters. And of course, during COVID-19, our advocacy has gone up a notch. We've, as was mentioned earlier, we've incorporated a digital platform, and our environment academies are now online. And in the last 6 months, I think we've conducted around 23 webinars that have reached out to over 28,000 people. And on the ground, the COVID-19 pandemic has further exacerbated the poverty imbalance and taken away income from millions of people due to the lockdowns that we know have impacted the tourism industry, construction, and all other sources of employment. And this impact has been felt disproportionately by vulnerable communities. And for us, we've seen that particularly in Bangladesh, which is one of the most densely populated LDCs in the world, where there's an absence of social support and healthcare. So our team there is building resilience amongst the marginalized communities in cities and villages through sanitation education, providing masks, soaps, as well as clean drinking water, filters, and rations. And we're also providing skills-based education to the villages on sustainable farming, poultry and fishing, and providing them with organic seeds, with ducks, hens, as well as fish, so that these residents can become self-employed. And very soon we will create a virtual mobile app based on a trading platform through which they'll be able to sell their farm products direct to traders in the cities. And through this, we are building a local circular economy that's based on the pillars of food, feed, fiber. So finally, our efforts are building back better by empowering those who are the farthest first, and thereby implementing the overarching goal of Agenda 2030 and the SDGs, which is to leave no one behind and achieve a life of dignity for all. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Thank you, Kikasha. And definitely echoing upon what you were saying, at one point of time, you realized that whatever you were doing was right. And I think that is the most strongest force to drive you so far. Thank you so much. And I am sure that our audience have a lot of questions and queries in their mind. So may I gently remind you all that our chat box is open in the social media platform, and you can drop your question in our chat box. So thank you once again, Kikasha. So now I cannot wait inviting our another superhero, Patricia, and definitely you are expected to blow our mind with your spectacular activities too. So welcome, Patricia.
Mm. Okay, thank you very much, Sijal, for the opportunity and for the UNCCD for this webinar. Okay, I'm still in school in my fourth year, and growing up in a rural village in Kenya, in Makueni, at that time agriculture was profitable, and I remember my parents used to trade the excessive maize and the excessive produce from the farm for our schooling. And when I was in nursery, grade 1, we had what we used to call them 4K clubs. Kumaliza Kuendeleza. It was basically a club where we used to set up 3 nurseries. We used to have kitchen gardens in the school just adjacent to the classroom. And from there, the teacher used to sell, if maybe you lack a pen, during, when you're in school, they used to sell your one tree at 10 shillings, and they would buy you an exercise book. So from growing up, I grew up interacting with trees, interacting with crops. But when I was in grade 4, the system really changed, and the environmental club started to die. And also weather patterns started to change. And I remember at some point, people started, leaving agriculture because the rains would either come at some time, they would fail. And when I went to high school, at first I thought, being told to farm, going to school, you have to carry your jerry can, you have to go and fetch water to water the seedlings, to monitor them. At some point, we thought it was like punishment, because the same thing is the same we were doing back in our homes during holidays. But I can say my journey, I've grown up interacting with trees, growing trees with my family. But until last year, when I visited Turkana, I know everybody is well aware of Turkana. Is a semi-arid region in Kenya, very dry. And it happened we had excessive drought in Lodwar, and I happened to visit as a volunteer because I was on my long holiday. And it was the longest journey. And when I reached Turkana, what I really saw really changed my mind. I reached there, and the place was like, it was a desert. There was no tree. Water was a scarcity. And interacting with the young people, they had lost hope. Interacting with the mothers, they told us, like, they only lived by mercies. They never knew when they went to sleep if tomorrow they would wake up. And during the first day with the other volunteers, we had carried some vegetables, kunde. So we set up a small kitchen garden, and interacting with the kids, we could see them enjoy. We trained them, and from there is when I realized there was much more than ranting on social media. And from there is when I told myself I never want to see any other young people suffering, because they would even go down on their knees to beg us to provide them with water. There was no shade. And from there is when I realized what we were being taught when we were young through the environmental clubs really helped us. And from there, I vowed to be the voice of the young people, and not only to speak, but to train them by educating them on some basics like setting up kitchen garden, setting up nurseries, growing trees, training them to adapt when climate crisis becomes at their tipping point. And from there, I started PA Tree Initiative. And PA Tree really means PA, one, tree. So every student gets to plant a tree when they enter, maybe in grade 1, and all along up to grade 8, they'll be able to nurture their tree, grow their tree, so that when it is dry, they can sit under the shade, they can enjoy fruits. And what we do, we normally grow both fruit trees and indigenous trees. And the reason why we are doing fruit trees in schools, because we are realized in many parts of Kenya, children do not have an extra meal to eat when they are school. But when we grow trees, the future generation will have, will always benefit from the fruits, maybe if they lack food. And also it is a generative income for the schools, whereby the schools can sell the surplus fruits so that they can buy basic necessities for the pupils. And we're also working on kitchen gardens, because where I started with my home area, because where I come from, land is limited. People have small pieces of land, and also weather patterns have become unreliable. So people depend majorly on rain-fed agriculture, and we cannot tell when the rains will come. Unlike in previous, we would say the rains will start on April 14th. We had the rain patterns on our fingertips. So with the kitchen gardens, we are working with women, because we realize in the African setting, the woman is the one to provide the family with food. So by equipping them with equipment, and also setting kitchen gardens on backyards, and also recycling lots of plastics, because we realize we have a lot of plastics which end up in landfills. So we are using this opportunity to train them on how to recycle by using the cement bags. They put soil, they grow their vegetables, and also plastics like jerrycans, which would rather go to landfills, whereby we convert them into using the available resources sustainably. Like after they rinse maybe their rice, instead of throwing the water, they can convert it and use it in their kitchen garden. And during the lockdown, because we've been working with schools, we thought this was the perfect time to work with communities and train them. And we've been able to set over 10,000 tree nurseries. We've been able to set up kitchen gardens as a way to cushion communities, because with lockdowns, we found every member of the family was in the house. So it meant they need to be fed, they need, all to pay their bills. So with setting up kitchen gardens, it was to help families cushion the hard economic times, because they could grow their vegetables and they could even sell the surplus. But majorly what Patricia, we are campaigning, because we want to have environmental education in our schools, because without environmental education, no matter what policies we are going to put, we will not achieve, because we need to raise a generation that appreciates nature, a generation that knows why we should do this and not do this. That's why we are working so much with the young people, so as to ensure they are able to have the small quirks on how they can achieve and mitigate climate change, and also live sustainably by producing food locally, and also through forest restoration. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Patricia. There is this saying that if you want to change something, you should start from where you are and use the resource which you have at your hand at that particular time. And I really like your mindfulness of identifying the resources during the lockdown, that the children were at home, and then you reached to the indigenous seed sources, and that was really mindful of you. And I think that's what the way how you reached to the root of everything made you success so far. So thank you so much, Patricia. And we have been receiving few questions in our social media platform, and that is very exciting, and we will definitely be responding those questions. But before that, may I ask Kikasha about her journey. So Kikasha, in your previous discussion, you mentioned that you wish that sustainability in production and consumption of goods becomes the new normal. So how we achieve that through the education? What are your says on that?
Sure. Education teaches you to consume with care, and specifically education for sustainable development, that's at the core of it. And if you, by teaching children and youth about our planet's finite natural resources, the interdependence of all species, and the detrimental effects of overconsumption, and as well as what they can do to consume sustainably, we will create responsible stewards of the planet. And that leads to sustainable consumption and production. And the sustainability education will enable the children and youth to make mindful decisions about what they eat, what they wear, what they buy, and even what they do for leisure, and it'll actually help them to adopt sustainable living as a way of life. It won't be something that's separate. It'll become a way of life for them. And if they, as consumers, practice sustainability, that will also influence the production process to become sustainable. And the education will enable them to take ground level action. And I completely agree with what Patricia said. It's not just about protesting, striking, and criticizing on social media, as many people stereotype youth as, but actually working on the ground to bring about change. And education will help with that. And as I mentioned earlier, when we planted our 110,000 trees worldwide, it was education that led to that, because the children and youth knew to consume with care, to take care of their planet, and know to how to bring about change at the ground level. So yeah, I think education is key to ensuring sustainability, to ensuring sustainable consumption and production, responsible consumption and production, as well as the resilience of future generations. Back to you, Sejal.
Yeah, definitely, Keshanka, because education is what breathes knowledge to the wisdom, right? And when people are in the level of wisdom, they become more responsible citizen. And you are definitely correct in that sense. So before taking the question from the audience, I would also like to ask Patricia about her dream of having agroforestry and kitchen gardens in and the eco club and environmental club in Kenya, and she dreams very big because she wants 90% of all the school to have that. So can you first explain what is your idea of kitchen garden first, and then how do you feel will you achieve this beautiful dream?
Ah, okay. To me, when I hear the word kitchen garden, is utilizing the available land which is not used, mainly mainly which is not the large piece of land where people do farming, but utilizing that small space on your backyard, in your compound, to make it to utilize it. And kitchen garden, when we talk of kitchen garden, it's not a must to have that large piece of land. You can even use like 3 basins, plastic basins which are broken. Instead of throwing them, you can convert the 3 basins, you put them with soil, and you grow like 3 tomatoes or 3 spinach. That is kitchen garden, mainly utilizing what is available, be it land, be it any bathtubs, be it the sacks. That is what I mean, like what we mean by the kitchen garden. And one thing that I usually tell the people I interact, how can things change if we fail to educate the young people? And for us to attain all sustainable development goals, it all goes back down to the grassroots, how we tap the potential of the young people. And this is funny, I usually tell people, to me, if I see a child without the basic environmental knowledge, to me that child is just like a bird without feathers. They will never fly. You'll just free them, but they will fall. So to me, for me to do the agroforestry, to attain 90% of schools with environmental clubs, my main goal is through, first of all, to change the mindset of the people. And the mindset is achieved through education, through knowledge, through telling the people why we do not do this and why we need this. And I can tell you, knowledge is the basics of everything, like educating people. Through my interaction with the people, because of I visited over 9 schools, interacted with communities. And you go to a community and you ask people, why do you apply fertilizer on your crops? And people do not have the knowledge. They tell you, because we found our great grandmothers doing this. Because of lack of knowledge and because of some of the norms which they perceive to be right, it is affecting us. So I feel education should be the most key. People need to know, why am I applying fertilizers? Why should I practice climate smart agriculture? Why should I do agroforest? Why should I restore the forest landscape? So I feel I have a large work ahead of me, changing the people mindset. And again, on issue to do with deforestation, which is a big problem from where I come from. And interacting with the people will tell you we have to cut the trees because we depend on we need firewood. We cannot sleep hungry because we need trees. So you find there is that social economical problem. People need to be empowered so that they can shift what they are doing to be norms. It is a long journey. By even through writing, I'm working on a petition to UNEP, to the Ministry of Education, so that they can review the education system, because I feel the education system is theory based, and once person gets out of the school, they do not have the basic knowledge even to crack, to farm. People really rely on the white collar jobs. So my bigger part of the journey is through mindset change and also introduction of environmental clubs. And through that, I'm sure we are going to attain the 10% forest cover, and every child will have the environmental knowledge on their fingertips. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Patricia. It feels like you are preparing to fertilize the mindset first before fertilizing the land. So I think that is the key, what is making you so much successful so far. So there is a question from the audience for Patricia. So they want to know about, know more about how to save the water, because you have mentioned about saving the rice water that is obtained while cooking. So are there also other tips to which the water can be saved and then further used in the agriculture or the kitchen garden?
Pardon the question, the last part.
So, so you told about how your kitchen garden uses the water that has been thrown away from the kitchen, right? So one of the technique is saving the water that comes from the rice while cooking. So, are there other three tips through which you can save the water?
Yes, the reason why we are working to save water is because we've realized the next Third World War, it will not be because of guns, it will be water scarcity, because people will be rushing to, to tap the water. And there are so many ways in which you can utilize water. When we rinse the rice, people just draw the water over the window, but you can utilize that by doing it for irrigation. We also have drip irrigation, but because of a kitchen garden, what I advise people is to recycle their water bottles, like the ones made for soda, like Coca-Cola. So you dip an hole on the lid and you put water and you suspend it on your crop, and you find a 300 ml bottle of water can take you for 3 months, like a month, because it only suspends little amount of water to the exact crop, rather than just pouring or furrow irrigation, because it wastes a lot of water. And again, you can also use the eggs. After you break in your egg, the eggshell, when you put it on your soil, it ensures it maintains moisture and also gives the crop a lot of nutrients. And another way we can save water is by farming organically. People really do not know farming organically saves a lot of resources. So what we are doing, we are utilizing the water bottles because we're also trying to reduce landfills, and also telling people there is an alternative way to use these bottles, because we realize in the nearest market, people used to, they combine them, then they light them, they burn the plastics. And burning plastics is another environmental hazard. So we collect the bottles, we convert them. And also, if you're farming like your kales on a basin, so you find when you put a lot of water on the basin, there's a lot of moisture content. And also you can move your basin when it is extremely hot. You can put your basin with the crops under shade, so as to ensure you reduce the rate of evaporation. And then that way we can
Yeah, thank you so much. So being quite mindful about the time, I want to rush to Kekasha. So this is such a wonderful project you have been doing so far. And I'm sure that there are so many people who wants to be part of your program, or maybe they want to start their own chapter in their own country and do from their own level. So can you quickly tell people about how can they be part of your initiatives? Through what are the, I mean, it could be like social media platform or any other platform from which they can join you.
Absolutely. Yes, we are more than happy to have people join us at Green Hope and create local chapters. And yes, they can reach us through our social media channels and through our website at greenhopefoundation.com. And we are always, as I said, love to have passionate people work with us and create positive change on the ground in local communities. And yeah, only if you have passionate people will you be able to mobilize young people. And just to reiterate my previous points, the first step to engaging those young people is through education, both formal and non-formal. And based on what was just said, David Orr once said, all education is environmental education. And I firmly believe that those of you who do get involved through Green Hope will be using that education for sustainable development to combine education with ground level action to recognize the importance of localizing the SDGs. And very quickly, I just wanted to add that yesterday, our team in Bangladesh conducted a cleanup in a village there, and we planted 75 trees with the village children. And you can't imagine how enthusiastic they were. They don't know what the SDGs are, but with the education and environmental education that they got, they knew the importance of cleaning up, keeping their communities clean, of tree planting, about the benefits of tree planting and sustainable land use. So yeah, just wanted to throw that in really quickly and reiterate that yes, education is really the key, and through that we will be able to achieve a sustainable world, leave no one behind, and achieve the SDGs.
Thank you so much, Kikasa. Both of our speakers are available in their respective websites and their social media platform, and you can find them by putting the handle and then followed by their name. And I really love, Kikasa, the glow in your eyes while you were talking about the happiness of planting 75 trees. I think that is the key, the drive that makes you realize whatever you are doing is absolutely perfect to save the world. So it was really an amazing session, and I hate to say, but we are almost at the end of the webinar. So now may I request Caroline to repackage the knowledge of this rich discussion and give your closing remarks.
Well, thank you. It was really, really inspiring. And I talked to you also previously as like a pre-interview, and I very happy that you had the opportunity to share your journey and your passion to our audience today. Thank you for everyone who was watching. Kehkashan and Patricia, you are both privileged to have the opportunity to have an education and to go to school, and I feel that it's great that you are taking this wealth, and that you're passing on the knowledge that you learned at school, but also I feel that you are very autodidact, and you are really also getting some learning there and there, and I think that yeah, it's really precious that you take the time to pass on this knowledge and this passion at some point also of like making the world a better place so it serves everyone. I feel that one of the challenges for you and for other young people around the world who are passionate and dedicated to make the world a more sustainable place is that we still have to make a living. We still have to pay our rent. We still have to buy food, provide for families sometimes. And it's not always that those activities and that your career as an activist can put food on the table. And I think that it's something that we have to say, and that we have to address, and that we have to work on to make those wonderful activities sustainable for a living too. And UNCCD with Deutsche Welle is having a webinar about this. So I want to mention it. It will be the first week of November. And basically the theme is to inspire the youth to and to educate them, to give training, to start small, startups, environmental, green jobs, and also how to find a job in the land sector. So I think that that's something that could interest you and maybe some of the people listening now, because I mean, yeah, we have values and we want to make good for the earth, but we also have to be realistic and to make a living out of it. So I wish that for you, Patri, and your foundations, Green Hope, will really thrive, and that you will be able to really hold them and work with different collaborators and partner and make it like strong enough to be able to keep them alive for years to come. So back to you, Sijal.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Caroline. Thank you for Kikasha and Patricia. It's actually so very much true that nobody yet know how to engineer the life supporting system. Like, world has developed so much, but the life supporting system that earth does for the free of cost is yet to be discovered. And understanding this true value and working in the ground level and reaching to this height is really amazing. And you have kind of created like different energy among all the listeners and viewers of this event via social media. So thank you again, and all the best for your future endeavors. And I would like to thank all the audience connecting from all around the world. And I would also like to inform you all that we have next webinar on 20th of October, and that is with two heroes who is deeply involved in Uganda, focusing on food security through their land restoration project and democratization of the green energy. Having said that, I would like to say goodbye for today and see you on 20th. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
So we're not live, right?
No, we're not live anymore.
Okay. I would like to take a picture, a group picture. So 1 second. And Kathy, you can come. You can show your pretty face.
I don't even know if I can.
Are you taking the picture?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Wait. I need 2 seconds. Okay, perfect. So smile. Super. That's awesome. Perfect. That's great. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope that we'll stay in touch, and yeah, keep updating me when you have activities, Sijal, as well, if you carry some activities with the organizations you are part of. And because I'm always, looking for social media promotion to inspire and do some training or education also online as we can. So yeah, so don't hesitate to just send me some pictures, some updates, and we will share and promote also.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Have a good day.
Have a good day. Ciao.
Bye. Great to meet all of you. Bye.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.